Morning peeps, it's reading time. Are you ready? This is Proverbs 31. It's an email I get every day, well, 5 days a week, not every day. And this was written by Evie Polsley. I don't know if I'm massacring her name, but I wanted you to hear this one. We loved our house, but it was time to move. My heart burst with excitement when I thought about how our new house would allow more opportunities to open our home to others and share God's love through hospitality. But at the height of my daydreams about what was to come, the reality of what was now brought everything crashing down. What had been my sanctuary from the many stresses of life became an anxiety-ridden, overwhelming pressure point as the enormity of packing a whole house took control. Where should I begin? The kitchen? Kids' bedrooms? What do we need access to right away? My head was spinning with questions when I looked up and noticed our bookcase. Why not start there? So one by one, I took the books off the shelf and added them to a box until all had been packed away. I felt a sense of relief. It wasn't much, but it encouraged me. I could do this. I think we sometimes approach the Bible like I approached packing my house. It's a huge book filled with history, prophecies, lessons, wisdom, and so much more. All are vital truths with eternal significance. We think we need to take everything in at once, which can cause us to avoid even opening our Bible because we are so overwhelmed by the idea of all that's inside. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my Bible. It is my lifeline, but when I think of the weightiness of its content and the vast amount of information, it can cause me to sigh and think, can I do this? Where do I even begin? What I've come to realize in those seasons of feelings overwhelmed is that I need to pray and ask God where to put my focus. There are times when taking on the full Bible is an amazing adventure, and I'm here for it. But there are also times when I feel God saying, slow down, really focus on the specific portion of my word in the context of my story, and just enjoy being with me, and I'm here for those times too. During my current season of feeling overwhelmed, I am reading through the book of Mark. I have been able to focus on that specific text, allowing a story I've read many times to bring new comfort and understanding. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I tell you the truth. This poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions, for they gave a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on. Mark 12:42-44. Though this passage talks about money, I think the truth goes beyond finances. Some days we have a surplus of ourselves to give. We are filled with energy, invigorated to study, and full of purpose. Other days we are beaten by the stresses of life, weighed down by exhaustion, and we struggle to find even a small portion of ourselves to give. And just as he saw the widow's offering, God sees ours too. Whether we're ready to unpack large amounts of God's truth or need to focus on the bookshelf method, one thing at a time, God is ready to commune with us right where we need him. In his word, we find renewed strength. And no matter the size of what we can bring, he is all in. He is holding us through every challenge and every joy we face. I thought that was very good. But the reason it came to me so much is, this has been quite a while ago, but somebody said to me, you should be reading the entire Bible through every year. And I thought, yes, I should. I should be knowing, I should be reading it over and over and over. And so I got this app that, laid out a plan for reading the Bible for the whole year. Well, there's over 1,100 chapters in the Bible, and so you're reading like 3 or 4 of them a day to get through the whole Bible. And 3 or 4 a day probably isn't that many in reality, but it was overwhelming to me. It's too much information, and I was finding myself just speeding through it and not really paying attention to what it said. During that period when I started that, I didn't underline anything in my Bible. I didn't highlight anything. I didn't write anything down because I was speed reading. That's what it amounted to. So at some point I decided that was not for me. So I read 1 chapter a day. When I decided to do that, I started in the New Testament just because I think it's easier to read and easier to absorb. And so I began at Matthew and I read the whole New Testament through 1 chapter a day, and then I started back on the Old Testament. But I read each chapter and I read it. I didn't speed read it, I read it and I paid attention. I underlined pertinent information for me. I highlighted things that were important. And I got a lot more out of it that way. And I'm not dissing anybody who reads the Bible through, but it did not work for me. I need to ingest what I read, and it takes time for me. I can't absorb when I'm speed reading. My mind doesn't comprehend that. I'm just reading the words. I'm not paying attention to the content. So I thought I would share that. If the Bible seems overwhelming to you, try 1 chapter a day. Mark is one of the really good chapters or books to start with if you're just starting. He kind of writes everything down in dumb tone for me. But don't try to press your way through the Bible if it's not going to work for you. Don't do it. It's not that important to read the whole thing through. It's more important what you can retain and keep and, incorporate into your life. Just my opinion. I'm full of opinions. That was it, peeps. I just wanted to share my trials with reading the Bible and how I changed just to make it work for me. And I hope it gives you some idea of how to make it work for you. But that was it. I hope you're absolutely flamazing. Stay blessed. Until next time. Hey, you made it to the end. Please hit like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.